talk about Jade Helm. Now, last week I didn't really know a whole bunch of information on it. I always fight with my co-host because, he says, yeah, it's nefarious, and yeah, they got plans, and, I'm saying, nah, you don't want to, think like that, and, we got to have some trust. Well, after doing this investigation, I think my co-host is right. Scott, I owe you an apology. This has been going on since 1961, actually. I am looking at a document that was put out by the Department of State, and it says the United States Program for General and Complete Disarmament in a Peaceful World. It is written by the State Department, and it goes through all the steps to disarm people, the country, the United States. They can disarm the rest of the world. That's easy. We're the most difficult because I guess we're brats. However, the government principles set forth are to guide the negotiation of states in their work. And they make it clear that a state relinquish their arms. The United Nations must be progressively strengthened in order to improve its capacity to assure international security and the peaceful settlement of disputes. So, like I said, they've already disarmed most of the rest of the world. It's you they want to disarm so that they can have a peaceful world. The United Nations considers you a threat, not the jihadis running around, not the people like FARC or, any of these communist groups. Those aren't the problem. The problem is you and your guns. And this is from the State Department, like I said, 1961, and it's in conjunction with the United Nations, obviously. Now, we knew that they wanted to strengthen the United Nations. Well, they are. And they send them more and more money every year, and they give them more and more power. As a matter of fact, the Iranian deal highlighted how the UN doesn't want us to have as much authority, voting rights, or veto power. And Obama is saying, yeah, well, that's cool with him, right? All right, so let's talk about Jade Helm here. Jade is for Joint Assistant for Deployment and Execution. That's what the acronym JAD is for. Helm is for Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. That's what Helm stands for. Jade Helm's been ongoing for a while. First came the infiltration to key communities and local militias and organizations to assess the risk. Second came the report and later deployment of the needed military equipment to the local sheriffs and police departments. Getting it? We've been talking about how these local communities are getting MRAPs and they're getting all kinds of equipment and they're getting riot gear and over here, Micah Puzioni, in June 14, he wrote, during the Obama administration, according to Pentagon data, police departments have received tens of thousands of machine guns, nearly 200,000 ammunition magazines, thousands of pieces of camouflage and night vision equipment, and hundreds of silencers, armored cars, and aircraft. The equipment has been added to the armories of police departments that already look and act like military units. Police SWAT teams are now deployed tens of thousands of times a year. Increasingly, for routine jobs, masked, heavily armed police officers in Louisiana, for one place, raided a nightclub in 2006 as part of a liquor inspection. In Florida in 2010, officers in SWAT gear and with guns drawn carried out raids on a barber shop that mostly led only to charges of barbering without a license. So when the military's mine-resistant trucks began arriving in large numbers last year, Neenah and places like it, that's a little town, were plunged into the middle of a debate over whether the post-9/11 era had obscured the lines between soldier and police officer. As the nation's wars abroad wound down, many of the military surplus tools of combat ended up in the hands of state. That was intentional, ladies and gentlemen. That plan that I just read to you, describing Jade Helm and what it's about, that was from, let me tell you the date on here, 1992. All right, 1992. So in 92, they put this Jade Helm plan into action. Now, that means that they had to come up with...
Bush, I'm Sure.
Well, that's when it went into action. It's actually been going on since 1961. But, you know, we tell people all the time Obama couldn't have gotten here and done what he did without all the markers being put for him to just pick up the mantle and run with it.
Ducks in a row.
Well, that's what's going on here. This has been going on for a long time. The disarmament plan, the plan to, I don't know if they're going to take over the United States. You know, they're telling us this is for your security.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
they are.
But then, on the other hand, the rest of that article, let me find here what my notes were because I did highlight them. It says
they always have a plan B or C, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't get you to register them all and voluntarily get on it in a database or whatever, then they just, you know, they try to shame you into it. If that doesn't work, then they run all these false flags and use children to try to guilt you into it. And if that doesn't work, they try to ban some of them and ban ammunition. And then if that doesn't work, they send in a Gestapo to kill you and take them.
Yeah, well, you know, I used to fight with you about this until I read this piece of this Jade Helm situation. All right, in South Carolina, there's a Richland County sheriff. Let's see here. He says, you have a lot of people who are coming out of the military that have the ability and knowledge to build IEDs and to defeat law enforcement techniques. Sergeant Dan Downing of the Morgan County Sheriff's Department told the local Fox affiliate, referring to an improvised explosive device or a homemade bomb. Sergeant Downing didn't return a message seeking comments on that from us. But that's the enemy. Returning military and militias and patriots. He said it right here out of his own mouth. You have a lot of people who are coming out of the military. Guys, our veterans are the enemy. But in the meantime, they have our military joining up with local police departments, arming them, training them. That's what this Jade Helm is all about. They're building a database. They're going to take all the information that they learn, and they're building apps with it. That's also what the first document says. They're building apps with it. So say something works in Tampa, but it doesn't work in California. They're going to be able to cross-reference and overlap it and figure out what worked, what time, how many people they needed. They have people now that have, I mean, they look for so many crisis actors that actually they have started a business industry. Now there's organizations that, you know, hire out their actors for these crisis situations. In New Mexico, there's an ad out right now, Phoenix, there's an ad out right now on Craigslist looking for crisis actors for Phoenix.
At $12 an hour. $12 an hour to be used as a guinea pig, you know. They can use sound weapons on you. They can use, blinding guns on you, whatever, put you in the extreme heat, extreme cold. $12 an hour.
Right. You know, and I don't think these people know that what they're doing is helping the administration commit treason.
They don't
care.
But
when that sheriff himself, who was receiving all this equipment, said you have people who are coming out of the military, that's the enemy, guys. And now, you look at this Jade Helm. It's along the Sun Belt. It goes from Florida out to California, across to Utah and Colorado, and back down. That includes New Mexico, Arizona, California, Florida. They skipped over Louisiana. I don't know why that is. Also, the document that they used was to have people calm down about posse comitatus, because in the Jade Helm document for this 2015 operation, they are asking permission from the local municipalities. Well, of course they're going to get permission. They're being trained how to use all that equipment. So that's a way around.
There's a lot of ways around posse comitatus. They can hire, Blackwater-type mercenaries now. They militarize the police. They're not, so they're not technically military. Just like they did during Waco, Texas. They couldn't send they couldn't send our military in there, so they just went and had the military train them.
Right. Yeah, well, the military can't do the operation, but they can join up with local, state, and police departments. They're also using the National Guard to ask the permission, because the National Guard used to be controlled by the governor of the state. But if you remember, they were incorporated into the military. So this is actually a military operation in conjunction with local police departments. They're calling it a drill, but it's definitely a training program. They are training people. They also have zones set out. That's where our show name came from, Zone 13. Zone 13 is the FEMA number given to the whole United States, but they break that into several zones. I'm down here in Florida, so I laughed when Scott said, "No, you're going to Gitmo." And I said, "I'm not going to Gitmo. I'm not going to play the little Jade Helm games. No way." Sure enough. They're getting rid of all those inmates, but they're not replacing them with terrorists. They're going to replace them with domestic terrorists. We're not giving up that land in Cuba.
No,
I'm not giving it back to Cuba at all. Oh, no, not at all.
They just take a 90-minute or a 90-mile flight from America to Cuba, and it's like a giant version of Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And you escape the FEMA camp. What are you going to do, swim to Florida?
90 miles, you could do a puddle jumper and be there in 40 minutes from Key West on one of those little pterodactyl planes. Anyhow, so then, now that I know that this is actually a drill, it's a joint drill, and our local police departments, remember when we said they're giving you the equipment, they own you. And then we talked about Ferguson and how every police-involved shooting now has to go before this board at the Department of Justice. So we know that our police departments have been socialized now, nationalized. And this is even further nationalizing them. We're going to give you the equipment, but you're going to use it our way. And you're going to learn how to use it our way. And then when the time comes to give the order, you're one of us. So now the local police departments would never fight against the military. They just got incorporated into it. And the military is not going to go after the sheriffs who aren't going to stick up for the people, because they're all on the same team now. Obama has gotten rid of all of our majors and lieutenants and colonels, anybody who had a little bit of patriotism, and replaced them with all these new people. And the new people don't necessarily even have to be American citizens. You know, the DREAM Act and all of that, they're bypassing the citizenship requirement for our military.
Illegal aliens.
So now our military has loyalties to other countries.
Yeah. Well, that's what you do.
And
they're not even training the military like they used to, because they know that they're someday going to leave the military and go home. They don't want, so they just train bare bones, a little as less as they can to get you to get along in there.
Scott, I'm really down to earth, and I'm really, feet planted on the ground type person, and I'm very skeptical of conspiracy theories. Well, this is no longer a theory, my friends. The documents are in those chat rooms right now. Our colleagues put them in there. Those documents came from the government themselves. They are not lying. This is not a conspiracy. This is actually a fact. Also, I sent those documents up the pipeline, too. All right, so now people are saying that there's Wal-Mart's closing. We know of 5, absolutely, that are already closed. They had no notice, gave the employees no notice, just said, this store is closing at 5 p.m. today. I have a little story here. Bear with me on this. This is from the I-Team. It says, Wal-Mart stores that were suddenly closed for plumbing issues haven't sought permits. That's important to know. They told you that they had plumbing issues and things were backing up. In this article, I'm not going to read all of it. I'm only going to read a couple of points that I highlighted. However, the employees are all standing around. The manager even said that, she's been there for 16 years. She never had seen any plumbing problems. Another manager said that she's worked inside the store since 2012. She used the restroom daily and has never seen a plumber working in the store or witnessed a plumbing problem. No plumbers or contractors could be seen at the Brandon Wal-Mart. Now, Brandon is in Florida. Besides Brandon, the affected locations were in Pico River, California, Livingston, Texas, Midland, Texas, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Each one of the stores of those 5 are located on a railroad route. The one in Brandon is located on the Tropicana rail line. All right, so now all the stores were built between 1994 and 2004. Well, that document from 2001, that means this was planned before that. All right, so now the reason that I brought up Wal-Mart is because these people were not even notified. And it says, this guy here says, his name is Enrique, he said, my building official walked out there and didn't see any work being done. He said his office was unaware of any prior plumbing issues, but reached out to Wal-Mart offering help with granting permits for work. So this guy was saying, we got to get the store back up in order. It's bringing all kinds of revenue in taxes and, people into the town and stuff would like to get it working. They had got no response when they were offered even to help with the permitting process. So there is no plumbing going on. So I looked further, and I know a little bit about Wal-Mart. As a matter of fact, I have their history in front of me, but I know it because of, just going through the motions here. But in the 60s, Sam Walton built his first store. In 62, he opened the first Wal-Mart in Rogers, Arkansas. They owned 24 stores in 67. In the 70s, they went national. 1970s is when they started trading on the public trading market. So they became a trading in the 70s, and the shares sold at $16.50 per share originally, and that was in 1970. That's when things started to go bad. When old man Walton died, he had left his business to his family. He had 2 sons and a daughter. The 2 sons, took it to the toilet. But when the daughter got out of school, she bought the brothers out, or she bought most controlling the shares of theirs. And she brought the business back up. But she was educated, liberal, and she decided to, bring it on the public market, and that was her biggest mistake. Once it went on the public market, then they had all the government coming in. So as she expanded, her first store, International, was in Mexico. She had to get permits from the United States to do business out of the country. Once they got the Mexico permit, it just took off from there. They went to China and Japan and India, and she had all kinds of, countries involved. So, of course, the government wanted that. And these stores that I told you about, like I said, they were built in 2004. Well, that document came out in 2001. So these stores must need to be upgraded. The new stores aren't closing. So whatever the upgrades that they're putting in those 5 stores have to be up to par to the other stores. There's all kinds of government involvement with Wal-Mart now because of trades. And then, of course, we know Soros and his minions, right when Obama became president, they started protesting and eventually got the unions into Wal-Mart, and that even put Wal-Mart further down the tubes. Now, people are thinking that these stores are going to be used as some sort of a detention facility or a command center. I'm thinking that might be a possibility. If you look at the design of a Walmart store, there isn't one window. There are, the entrance ways that are glass, but you still have to go through a foyer before you actually enter the store. Those places are fortresses. And located on a rail line, who knows if they could be holding centers. 200,000 square feet is the general square area of a Walmart store. That's a lot of square footage.
I worked for Walmart, and I used to give speeches to the employees about how if somebody comes up and talks to you about joining a union, this is what you tell them. We're a family. We don't need a union. Basically, these people are so cheap. You had to keep track of your hours every week because every time you got your paycheck, you'd notice that they accidentally forgot to give you credit for a few hours of work. Mm-hmm. And this is how cheap they are. And in order for them to close down this many superstores, number one, the government has got to be reimbursing them for the losses, which is huge, because they're paying some of their employees even severance pay, which is unheard of with Walmart. And they could be used as anything. They could be used to resupply FEMA camps. They could be used as command centers, morgues, hospitals. They got everything from food to automotive. So practically every need you could possibly want. You know, they're like a small city inside of a building.
Sure they are. Plus, you know, they're CEOs. All right. In 2006, they had this guy named Mike Duke. He became the CEO. The original one was David Glass, and that was in '88. David Glass is an activist. He's a leftist. He's in big with all the Wall Street people. He left there, and a guy named Mike Duke took over. Mike Duke, same thing, activist, part of Open Society. Then the new guy, 2014, Doug McMillon, he's a full-blown union boss. He's the CEO of Wal-Mart now. No wonder the Wal-Mart family wanted out. And they got out.
Right.
Last Friday, the Walton heir of Wal-Mart stores, whose founder was Sam Walton, announced that the family business, Walton Enterprises, LLC, would distribute about 6% of its holdings to a newly created Wal-Mart holding trust, and the other 50% is selling off. So they only want 6%, just a little bit for the moneymaker. They want out. Why would a family who founded that store want out? Especially on top, when now they have a $70 billion a year industry.
Yeah, well, you know what? After you got a few $1 billion, really, where is the passion to even keep it going? I mean, you have enough money you couldn't spend in 12 lifetimes. What's the point? You know, unless you're just a greedy, demonic ghoul like Feinstein, or what's the point?
Yeah, well, in '87. Well, under this guy, Dave no, what's his name here? Sorry, the first guy, Duke. After he was CEO, they replaced cash registers. They installed the largest private satellite communication system. They went completely cashless in some stores. They are now they got a Medal of Freedom. And they said that their mission was to save people money so that they can live better. And then they used the word sustainability. As soon as you hear that word sustainability, there it is,
21.
Agenda 21.
But don't forget, you know, Homeland Security partnered up with them a few years ago. Remember? It was Orwell's 1984. You're going to see, Janet Napolitano on Wal-Mart, Wally World TV saying, if you see someone who doesn't want to go along with the Obama regime's takedown of America, say something.
Right.
How creepy is that?
It's very creepy.
You're sitting there, you're picking up toilet paper and a few items, and you got to see, you know, Rocky on TV there telling you to rat out your neighbors for being a patriot.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just sick. Unbelievable. It's a nightmare you can't wake up from.
I know that. And like I said, like he said, too, Janet Napolitano, she partnered with Wal-Mart because they have the greatest surveillance, they have satellites, they have all kinds of stuff. If you're spotted with facial recognition in a Wal-Mart, it'll go straight to the FBI.
Do you know, I mean, with everything that Al Sharpton and his traveling pimp circus does to whip up white hatred and racism, you know, he had a perfect shot to do something that was, you know, an actual event, an actual story. It wasn't some made-up crap like Mike Brown. All right, some black guy was at a Walmart, and he went to the toy section or whatever, and he bought a BB gun. He's going to buy a BB rifle for his son. Well, some liberal saw him holding a gun, you know, a black man with a BB gun. So she called the police, of course. And they came and shot him, killed him in like, you know, right in the aisle there.
Yeah, holding an item off the shelf in Walmart. Holding a BB
gun that he didn't even buy yet. You know, it's still in the package.
Yep.
Now, right there.
Well, Al
Sharpton
knows all about this.
That would have been something both black and white people would have gotten behind, though. You see, they would have been on the same page. They would have said, this is outrageous. And you wouldn't have been able to make it a black-white issue because they'd be agreeing on it. It'd be a citizen versus police issue. Couldn't have that.
Yeah, well, Scott, his job is to keep black people in line. He works for the government. He is not a black activist. You notice everybody was falling out of love with Obama. So he had to stir up crap to bring the blacks back into the Democratic fold. He had to rally them up and bring them back because he was losing control of them. He was so busy worried about the immigrants and the Muslims and, you know, his own vacations and stuff that he lost the confidence of black people. Black people were like, yeah, he used us. So now they have to rally the blacks back up. Who better to do it than Al Sharpton? Al Sharpton's already got an in with Wal-Mart. He's been shaking them down for years.
You know, that'd have been like if George Bush would have palled up with David Duke.
Yeah.
I mean, even Charles Krauthammer couldn't believe it when Obama, you know, hooked his star to Al Sharpton.
I got to tell you something. Black people are screwed under this plan. What do you think? They need a whole bunch of people that will stick together? Unless they're working for the government, they're not going to fare very well. First of all, they don't like poor people and minorities who are dependent on the state. They make you dependent on the state, first of all. They make it so you can't get off the dependency. All your family, your children are not getting off that dependency. They demand absolute loyalty.
Yeah, it's just
and
another
if you
form
are
of
not
slavery.
loyal, yes.
Debt slavery and poverty slavery.
Sure it is. Sure it is. You're never going to get rich on government programs, but they're going to keep you on these government programs to control you. They'll make sure that you're not hungry, and they'll make sure that you at least have minimal living conditions because, you know, you're already that poor. You don't want to do anything to upset the apple cart to lose even more. They're terrified to lose these benefits. Of course they are. That's how they survive. That's not just blacks. That's poor people in general. Those are the people that are worse.
Yeah, and you know,
the ones that have
where,
jobs and the ones that are productive, they're not going to be screwed first because somebody's still got to, you know, how you say screw them all but six. Well, you know why you can't screw all you know, those six is someone's got to be the pallbearers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what's going on here. And this Jade Helm thing, this is not the big one, but this is the lead-in to the big one. They are practicing for the big one.
Well, and it's very strange that it's strange that it's all southern states, though, right now. And the fact that they even allowed this information to be released has to tell me that they want us to know.
Yeah, but see, it's not the southern states.
Make us think we discovered this conspiracy plot and whatnot. Well, if you take the country and split it in half. States. If you take the country and split it in half from east to west, it's the bottom half of the state. This isn't happening in Montana and New York. I mean, this is happening in Florida, California, and Texas.
You're wrong. Jade Helm 2015 is happening in the Sun Belt. But you remember when they had the stuff going on up in Montana, that little town. And you remember the Boston bombing. And
but that was
L.A.
They weren't shutting down
LA
Wal-Mart.
Drills. The drills that I've been able to find. The drills that I've been able to find are all along the coast. The East Coast, the West Coast, the Southern Gulf Coast, and the Northern Great Lakes regions. They were in Montana. They even have a Jade Helm program called Northern Exposure up there in the Great Lakes northern regions. Now, what they're doing is they are securing the perimeter. They're going to pull you all into the middle.
Yeah, I was referring to the list of Walmart's closing.
Oh, the Walmart stores, yes.
They're not closing
right
in Nebraska or Montana or anywhere. It's all in the lower part of the states.
Well, it loops up around Colorado and Utah, but it's Florida, Mississippi, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, and Utah.
And everything they do is for the takedown of America. You know, the Jade Helm thing is like Boston bombing, martial law, emergency police action drill.
Yes.
And if you see a drill happening, you better just assume that it's the real thing. Don't assume it's a drill. Assume it's the real thing and get the hell away from there.
Right.
That's what, you know,
but,
they
you know, people are cooperating.
This is what they do.
People are cooperating because, it's our military. It's our local police departments. You know, the population is cooperating because they're saying it's it's training. Of course you want to train the soldiers, and of course you want to train the cops. But I don't think people understand what they're training for. They don't have to leave a military base to train for urban events. And if they do, it wouldn't be as widespread as this. They are building the plan. They are data collecting. They are watching and monitoring every single step of this drill to find the successes, find the weak points, places where they could use improvement, places where it worked, how the people reacted. They're building this. But it's been going on since 1961. The plan's been going on, and then first they had to send all this equipment in, and they couldn't just equip everybody all at once because people would get suspicious. So an MRAP here, and some armory there, and some bullets over here, and all the things that they have been ordering. Remember we talked about all the bullets and the armor-piercing artillery that they had been ordering, and the night vision, and all of this stuff. Well, now you know where it's going. They didn't need all that, but they got it. And we said, why do they need it? Because they're going to give it to the local police departments. Our cops are being... Go ahead.
Well, and just wait. When they find out that some of these cops aren't going to go along, they're just going to remove the cops, and they'll stick in a bunch of illegal aliens or Muslims or somebody in there in the police departments, and they'll be all set up already. They won't have to arm them. Not to mention 4 billion bullets they've purchased. That's enough for a war to last.
You remember when Nappy was, you remember when Nappy was collecting all this stuff, and we were wondering where it was going. Well, now quit wondering. They're supplying the local police departments. They are combining. They're combining the cops with the military.
They do it to supply the cops and the military, in the country, and to jack up the price and to take away the supply away from citizens.
Yeah. Well, if the citizens are smart, whatever type of bullets in the armory they're ordering, you might want to have one of those that is compatible, because when they drop it and run, at least you'll be able to use it.
Yeah, so that's something they're not considering. All that stuff that they're supplying the police departments with, there are militias out there that are going to really enjoy having a nice MRAP.
Yeah,
so they better be able to defend all the stuff they have, because once they drop the hammer on the country, it's on, and who knows what's going to happen then. Because
I have to admit, I thought this was crazy talk.
Yeah, well.
And it's not. I'm doing the research.
When they keep doing these drills, and people just get used to these drills, one of the times it's not going to be a drill, and everybody's going to think, "Oh, this is just a drill." No, you have to assume that it's a real deal every time it happens.
Yeah, well, right now you're right. They're desensitizing us, and they're getting us acclimated to this. Even the TSA was part of it when they went from just screening and walking through the metal detectors to actually putting their hands on you. That was part of this.